Now, the next person that we have coming up is a good friend of mine, known her for so many years, and very, very talented woman, Miss Harriet Cheng. She's the director of media production for 20th Century Fox World Park, who is going to talk to us about immersive technology for the next generation of storytelling. Harriet Cheng, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here and to the TEA for inviting me to do a presentation. This is my first time doing this, so if I'm a little nervous, you'll have to forgive me. One of the things that I found, my name is Harriet Cheng. I've been a show ride producer for 20 years, and today I'm going to talk about next generation storytelling for that teenage to 20-something year group that we're all trying to chase. I started my career in feature films. I took my first theme park job in my 20s and worked at Universal Studios for a number of years. And to date, I've worked on 8 theme parks and dozens of attractions. Storytelling. Theme park attractions are all about the story. It's an intrinsic human characteristic to tell stories and inform others of our life events. From the beginning of time, humans have tried to pass on our experiences using whatever technology we had available at the time, from cave paintings and hieroglyphs to the development of language and the printing press, to the mastery of complex paintings simulating light and fine details such as facial features, to the sea change of the camera, which captured lifelike realism with lighting details and more, to the invention of the motion picture camera, which has forever altered our relationship with storytelling entertainment experiences. But no matter what technology is used to communicate our stories, be they cave paintings, hieroglyphics, the written word, photographs, films, electronic media, humans are compelled to tell stories, and we try to find ways of ever more enriching, compelling, immersive, visceral, and fantastical ways in which to tell those stories. In the theme park industry, we've pursued the same storytelling narratology for decades. Purpose-built facilities are the norm of the industry, a way of setting up the experience for the guest. Attraction facades telegraph that experience to the guest. But whether the attraction contained a boat, a people mover, or a kuka arm, the resulting experience, while always pleasant and fun, followed the same narratology. The buildings were complete, and so were the facades stay the same, sometimes to the point of iconography. We all know that this is the facade to It's a Small World, or The Haunted Mansion, or Harry Potter. The queue lines, the sets, the ride experience, the animated figures, the media, all stay the same for every guest. This is the technology we know. But what if we could change this paradigm? What if the buildings, the ride vehicles, the ride media doesn't follow the narrative form? Living architecture and integrated media technologies can expand interior and exterior environments beyond the boundaries of its brick and mortar walls. Virtual windows into the imagination through architecture, immersive attraction design, and innovative media solutions can provide physical structures with additional storytelling ability. This is not going, sorry. We have the ability today to take a building's interior and exterior architecture and integrate media, lighting and visual effects, and color and texture, allowing the building to change into an iconic spectacle or subtle mood enhancer. The building itself can become a programmable event that can be easily customized according to a show experience and could even receive guest input, creating enhanced, controllable, immersive, interactive experiences that pertain to special promoted events or seasonal changes. Architecture really affects how we view our attractions. From an attractions design standpoint, living architecture environments can actually change as guests pass through the space. In this example, the architectural statement icon is a hybrid concept showcasing modern technology, historical architecture, and fantastical themed entertainment. The illusion inside this attraction atrium fulfills one of the architectural statements, a vision window into the past supporting the interior scenic design and visual story. As guests gaze upon the building, the experience starts. And while architecture is part of the telling of the attraction experience, guests can be introduced to the story as they arrive at the attraction exterior. The story paradigm, which for years has been, we're invited to go on a journey and something goes horribly, horribly wrong, can now be opened up into an experience that changes, including additional storylines, and invites guest interaction. This is the holy grail, is to get the guest input and change the experience for that guest. Instead of reading plaques, which can also be language limiting, the living architecture itself will tell us the backstory to that attraction. Virtual windows made of LED screens or transparent LEDs can display a scene and immerse the interior atrium in a believable reality that matches the scenic design of this attraction. While the use of video as set extensions has been done for a long time, technology now allows for this video to be ever-changing and not just a video loop. Living architecture environments can actually respond to guest input as they pass through the space. Virtual windows bring ancient architecture and a scene from, say, Game of Thrones in this attraction, creating a scene complete with changes from day to night and or various events throughout the day to surprise and to entertain guests. Scenery combined with show and audio effects using artificial intelligence, computer vision technologies such as deep fakes, as well as neural technologies, can present realistic interactions between the characters and the guests. Guests can ask questions of Daenerys or have her interact with Drogo. The queue experience can change with every visit, presenting guests with memorable and personalized interactions. Indeed, with the use of RFID tags that guests can be assigned, they could actually have a personalized experience with characters that know your name, age, and gender. Drogo could respond differently to child guests versus adult guests, as can Daenerys. The more personalized experience for the guest, the more memorable the experience becomes. These technologies could allow for almost limitless possibilities for the guest. We're going to move on to illusion architecture. Another way attraction architecture can become more part of the story is the use of illusion architecture. Illusion architecture is not a new concept, and in the past has almost exclusively employed the use of glass or steel. Examples include the Rachel Raymond Building, the Pinnacle in Nashville, the Tree Hotel in Sweden, and the Maribor Footbridge in Slovenia. While these physical structures are wondrous on their own accord, we now have the capability to create illusion architecture that more than reflects their surroundings or provide a modern design for guests to marvel over. Illusion architecture can become part of the story. Today, we can combine sightline design, projection mapping, media VFX, and structural illusion architecture to create buildings that appear to float, which can support a story that the guests can engage with in the interior space. Whereas most illusion architecture is a reflection of its surroundings or a statement of the location, today's technology allows us to create virtual environments that are alive, changing, and representative of a place that is not possible in the real world. For example, at certain times in the day, the environment guests are watching can appear, change, display different activities at different times in the day, and employ different storylines to invite guests to watch the show starting from the outside. Sightline-specific architecture and media give the illusion that this building, in this example, is floating above the water. This attraction is based on magic and mysticism. It can have actors that appear on the inside or the outside of the building, virtual or real, supporting the theme and the story inside. The LED panels on the outside of the building can appear to have waterfalls that change and can take guest input to change the story and personalize it for a group of people that could be outside watching. The exterior of the buildings, combined with selected ride systems inside, can complete a fantasy that only partially exists in the real world. Now imagine a virtual world so real it actually places the guests in that fantasy. An LED dome as well as sightline-specific projection-mapped walls, LED media set extensions mixed with real architectural facades integrate into a staged, sightline-sensitive scenic surround, creating a fantastical virtual city on an epic scale. In this example, a main arena dome exits to other arenas of virtual adventures, F&B attractions, and other park locations. These virtual areas allow us to have changeable, reactive environments. Times of day could change, as well as seasonal or holiday themes could be displayed with effects that change the appearance of the buildings in real time. The changes can be affected by guests, giving them opportunities to have unique and different experiences. The technologies open a whole new world into a type of experience a guest could have. Up until now, guests in theme parks are generally passive viewers, particularly with any media moments that are usually pre-shot and then displayed back to the guest. In addition to the use of artificial intelligence, haptic technologies can be integrated into the various areas, allowing guests to have individual experiences with their favorite characters or even with the set extensions themselves. The guests can now cause something to happen in the environment, just as you would in real life. Creating architecture that works in films and televisions have been a boon to the creativity of theme park designers. The technology is here to give guests new and memorable experiences, things that have yet been brought together for the next generation blowout experience. But back to the storytelling. Fantastic architecture and cool visuals still only act as a backdrop to the story. Innovative architecture using immersive ride systems combined with real and virtual animals will allow guests to experience stories that were never possible before. One of the great things about developing attractions in this era of technology is the advent of more and more different technologies that give us greater freedom over how to tell our stories. In this example of a virtual walkthrough aquarium, real scenic components combined with 3D media and LED set extensions create an immersive photoreal environment. Guests see the ocean's largest creatures swim over the heads of other guests as they walk through a virtual underwater sea cave. This provides a seamless integration of the creatures in their scenic environments for an in-your-face immersive encounter. Show lighting, projection mapping, and sound effects add the final touch to complete a dry for wet immersive illusion. Virtual animal encounters are already being developed in the attraction world. LED and high-resolution media technology have created a 100% believable realities. Guests can be as close as 5 feet from an underwater animal using micro-pitch LED and can feel that close to it. Haptic technologies will allow guests to interact with the creatures using their body movements to cause feedback from the animal. Who of us doesn't remember going to the elephant in the zoo, waving our arms, and hoping that he sees us and reacts to us? With visual technologies, we can assure that all guests receive a reaction from their action. Architecture and environments can become ever more fantastical and magical to further transport your guests through the story that you're telling. Using artificial intelligence, neural technologies, other computer vision technologies, and haptics, the guest experience can change per guest. Or the guest may be able to change the experience through a physical or technological conduit, such as body motions, speech, or device activation. We have systems now that can determine the heart rate of guests using algorithms geared toward the audience in that cycle. I won't say age. The experience and the experience can be adjusted for that group in that ride vehicle. A beautiful, majestic creature can be maybe friendly for a very young audience with a relatively smooth ride, or a higher action experience that is geared toward an older audience with a more exciting, faster moving ride and more complex storylines. Understandably, owners are particularly interested in saving facility costs when possible. While current strategies have owners replacing films into existing facilities, films made with AI can make the experience changeable and longer lasting. Additionally, real-time gaming with real-time gaming technology allows media-based elements to be interchanged, creating new experiences on the fly. Guest input could control animated figures, show action equipment and props, show effects such as wind or water effects, or seat vibrations. And so now we've talked about a variety of different ways to allow guests to become fully immersed in theme park storytelling. We're all very familiar with touch activation and guest input, which allows guests to push a button, hop on a sensor, or use their hands to control various show elements like light or sound. We've talked about haptics, hands-free technologies that allow guests to interact with the show using voice, hand motions, or sensing technology that is transmitted, analyzed, and provide near immediate customized responses. There is already device-activated interactivity in theme parks such as the Harry Potter wands, or of course interactive rides such as Men in Black or Buzz Lightyear. And we already have devices such as wearables and wands that guests use to provide input that changes the experience, not just the score. The technology methodology by which we produce feedback to the guest is becoming more and more sensitive to guest input, providing the guest with a more memorable and personalized experience. I'm going to pause here and tell a story. During my first reload to Japan, we were working on the island of Beppu. The job was great, the perks were great, and it was just so awesome to be living in a foreign country where we lived for so long that we wound up purchasing cars to get around. Now, Beppu is a beautiful, beautiful place, and they had a road. It's an island in Japan, and they had a road that ran parallel to the ocean. And of course, we all called that road the PCH, like the famous road next to the ocean in Los Angeles. Well, we were all pretty young back then, and sometimes after work we would go out for a drink or two, and then we would get into our cars and drive home. At one point, we had gone out and had a drink or two, and we went and we pulled in. We all get into the car. The driver pulled out onto the PCH with a carload of folks and started driving us toward the apartments. Traffic was light, but there would be the occasional set of headlights, and we would laugh it off. We knew that the Japanese also had their share of late nights and drinking and what have you, and we just assumed that they were driving in the wrong direction. Well, we got to a more crowded part of the highway, and we started having to dodge and veer. All of a sudden, everybody was honking at us, and at the same time, in that car, 5 people all realized that it wasn't them, it was us. We were the ones driving in the wrong direction. And to make matters worse, we were on a divided highway. There was no easy way to get over. So there we were, zooming through traffic, dodging left and right, looking for a place to cross over. Well, we finally made it. Everyone was safe. The point of telling this story is that it was a story that bonded that group together, and it's a story that we tell over and over again at every July 4th barbecue, because it was something that really mattered to us. While it wasn't an experience that we expected to create, it was one that we created, and it was memorable to us, and we tell it time and time again. And while being told a story has been the theme park construct for a long time, guests are now demanding the ability to create stories they can tell, where they've been, who they talked to, what characters they battled or interacted with, what the outcome was, and how that made them feel, just like the experiences we create for ourselves. Because when we create the experiences of our lives, the ones that are so memorable that they light us up time and time again, those are the experiences that we remember, and those are the stories that we want to experience, whether it's in a theme park or in our lives. Thank you very much, everybody.